Good morning and hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss a very important issue, that is the UN Day. 24th October 1945, the United Nations, shortly we call it as UN, was born. 78 years back, this organization was born in the midst of, or you can say, by the time Second World War was going at its peak. And the UN was the successor of the League of Nations that we all know very well. Right. Now, this year, when we are celebrating the 78th birth anniversary of the UN, the theme for this year is to fight the climate change or the climate menace. Particularly this year, the entire world is trying to see how small and island development communities they are facing the menace of climate change. You know, many of us we may not see a very secure future. Maybe all of us because of climate change, right? So, this day the world is committing to fight climate change, right? Let me go back to the origin of the UN. The word United Nations was first coined by then American President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And interestingly, on January 1st, 1942, in the middle of the Second World War, this term was coined in the Declaration of the UN, right? This is how the journey of the United Nations was born. And when the UN Declaration was signed at San Francisco, right? Initially, 50 nations signed. And we all need to remember one very important thing is that, on that very day, though India was not a independent country, it also signed the UN Declaration. And the 51st member of this declaration was no other than Poland. Though Poland did not sign, but later Poland joined the group of 51 original members that signed the UN declaration. And as today, what we can see is that United Nations has 193 members. The last two members that joined the UN were in 2006, Montenegro got separated from Serbia and became independent, and it joined as the 192nd member of the UN. Right? And in 2011, South Sudan got separated from Sudan and joined the UN as the 193rd member of the organization. So friends, today United Nations has 193 members. This United Nations most crucial body or the critical body is UN Security Council. It has 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. Right? And these 5 permanent members that we all call as Big Five include UK, France, the Russian Federation, China, and the US. And we all know very well that there are 10 non-permanent members at the UN Security Council. So friends, what we have seen is that why I am talking about UN Security Council is that this is the crux of the whole organization because it takes decisions on crucial matters, important matters, path-breaking matters. Right? Now, I'll take you to a different angle as of today while celebrating 78th birth anniversary of the UN. Today, United Nations particularly is facing 5 big challenges. Number 1, as I have initially told you, is the climate change. Number 2 is infectious diseases. Number 3, nuclear weapons. Number 4, what we have seen is global terrorism. And number five, what we are all seeing is a kind of, problem of restructuring of the entire United Nation. There are many other problems. Let me highlight all these one by one. Number one is climate change. The time I was born, maybe time you all were born, is not today, right? Today, the new generation babies that are born today are not going to see the same planet called Earth that we all had seen. World is changing very fast because of human greed, massive industrialization, globalization. We are all becoming greedy because world has become united through globalization and communication and information technology, right? So this greed might stop us seeing a very healthy planet called Earth. So United Nations is saying this is the topmost challenge to fight in the years and decades to come. Second one, as I said, nuclear weapons. We all have seen the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right, in 1946. But still, we all are making nuclear weapons. And forget about United Nations. No one is listening to, the next nation, right? Apart from the big five, today there are other nuclear weapon, occupying countries like India, Pakistan, Israel, and maybe the list will go on, right? So what's happening? Are we going to, learn any lessons from the disasters that we had seen in 1946 in Japan? Probably we will not. This is another big challenge. And the third is infectious disease. In 2021, 2022, what we had seen, COVID-19. After 100 years, the humanity had seen the demise or the death of millions of people from this planet, despite having the best of the medical care, despite having best of the scientists, despite having best of the labs across the world. Why? Because this is something we cannot stop it. It is proved. Medical science has come down to a pass saying that it is not in our control. A small virus has threatened all of us, right? So infectious disease is going to be under one threat for, the years to come for the humanity. Next, global terrorism. Whether you call Islamic Jihad, Islamic terrorism, or any other kind of terrorism, that all goes against humanity. Terrorism has no religion, terrorism has no caste, terrorism has no reason, terrorism has no campaign. It only and only is against humanity, right? Whether it is September 11, whether it is 26/11, what we have seen is that, terrorism wants to, create a kind of havoc for the humanity. It is against all of us. So, United Nations is facing a global menace in the form of global terrorism. We need to fight it out. Next, what we have seen is the reformation of the United Nations. For long, United Nations needs to understand that this body has to be expanded, right? Particularly the UNSC, that is United Nations Security Council. It's not happening. Today, there are countries like India, Brazil, South Africa, Japan. They're on top demand for a seat at the UN Security Council. And it's not happening. The big five, they're not allowing us to get in. Why this is happening? So at this moment, on this 78th birth anniversary of the UN, I would like to focus on this because countries like India, Japan, countries like Brazil, and countries like South Africa needed to be represented at the UN Security Council. It's a long-standing demand. So United Nations needs to be restructured, particularly the UN Security Council. So, friends, what we have seen is that these are some of the potential challenges that United Nations is facing as of today. And beyond this, let me tell you, at the moment, what is happening in the world? Today, the global liberal order, right? that is headed by the US and the West since the end of the Second World War is crumbling down. It is declining. It's very clear it is declining. It's not been able to hold the world together, or rather, it has not been able to control or dominate the whole world. Right? After the disintegration of the USSR, the world has become unipolar. Under the US leadership, the world is moving everywhere. But now, what we have seen? Rise of China. And today, America has not been able to take it very easily, the rise and emergence of China. China, that was born in 1949 on 1st of October, this month only, right, is posing a potential challenge to the US. It might surpass the US economy very, very soon. It is in the process, but no one knows, right? So China is competing hand to hand with the US. So with this, what is happening is that entire West led by US is trying to stop China. But it's a fact that China's, attempt to create a global order is not even acceptable in the Asian continent. Because countries like India, that is bordering with China, will not accept an Asian order led by China. The reason behind is very simple, because India wants to be a global leader. Right. So what is happening is that there are countries that are ganging up against China, right? And India is, trying to go towards the West to counter China's, constant threat to the country. There are many other countries today that are going to face the ire of China, particularly under the leadership of the current president Xi Jinping in China. It is trying to expand to every part of the world. I have covered in one of my lectures that is called Belt and Road, BRI lecture. What we have seen is that how is China trying to emerge as a global economic superpower through its BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, trying to revive the old Silk Road. That is going to be a challenge for the entire West, particularly the US. Apart from that, under President Vladimir Putin, what we have seen, a re-emergence of an authoritarian Russian Federation. Since 1999, this spy guy, former KGB man, who took control over Russian Federation after the disintegration of the USSR, is making a different challenge to the entire West, entire democratic world. And it's gradually tying up with China. So, if this kind of a combination or a coalition goes on, the West or the democratic order or the liberal order will find it too difficult to counter it. Right? And apart from that, what United Nations is going to face is that you can see crisis in Libya, you can see crisis in Yemen. It has become a hell for children. You can see crisis in Iraq. You can see crisis in Syria. You can see, governance crisis in entire Africa, mainly some of the West African countries, where many of the dictators have taken over recently from democratically elected governments. What is happening? Why? Why this is happening? Why the UN is keeping quiet? Simply, issuing slogans, simply issuing statements, simply issuing warnings. Is it going to stop all these authoritarian leaders? And beyond the Middle East, what I can see is that another crisis that is once again it may erupt is Afghanistan. Because Afghanistan was left behind by the US after 20 years of occupation. And now the Taliban that has been fought by the US earlier, is ruling Afghanistan. How is it possible for a country like America to leave a country in the hands of former terror leaders by, helping the, democratically elected, Ghani government out of power? These are all, kind of riddles that we all need to solve now. Otherwise, democratically elected legitimate governments are not going to survive on this particular planet. And today, just, what is happening across the world and we are all witnessing is Israel-Hamas war. So United Nations is facing entirely a different planet now. Israel-Hamas war, or particularly let me tell you, this is Israel-Palestine war. It's just, crossing 2 weeks. We have seen the humanitarian crisis. We have been watching now the horror and tragedy in Gaza Strip and West Bank. Is it going to come to an end? The question is that after seeing all these crises, do we have a question, or can we put a question that United Nations is relevant or irrelevant? On this particular day, let me tell you one very important thing, that despite having all the crises, United Nations is still relevant. We need a global governance body like the UN, where we have the seat for 193 members. But the question is that we need to be careful. We need to learn to live peacefully. Otherwise, we are all going to fight on this big planet. There are lots of space for us. Why are we fighting? Right? It is not the responsibility of the UN Security Council or the Big Five. All of us, we need to control our greed. You cannot say this is the problem of Israel. You cannot say this is the problem of Palestine. You cannot say this is the problem of Yemen. Or you cannot say this is the problem of somewhere in Burundi. Because today we all are connected. Right? Today we all are interlinked because of globalization, as I said. World has become a flat kind of a structure. It is not round. Every global problem has become local. Every local problem has become global. That is how we have coined a term called glocal, G-L-O-C-A-L, right? So, your problem is my problem is your problem, right? So in that context, we need to have a global governance body like the UN. UN has to be strengthened, right? The Big Five or any country that is fighting or have a tendency to fight war needs to control its greed, needs to control its heft. Otherwise, humanity will face disaster. It is not the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres who is going to give you a warning. We all need to set our own warning bells, right? That is what all the powerful countries need to do. Otherwise, people will cry for their basic human rights that we all have promised under the UN Declaration of Human Rights. Why are we fighting? Why are we killing, human beings? So this is just a tragedy. Human beings are killing human beings. Just for land, just for power, just for economic greed or anything else. You're just, displaying your weapon power. That is what is happening today in Gaza Strip and its West Bank. We all know Israel is a very powerful country. But to what extent you are going to fight a war at the cost of humanitarian tragedy? Are the civilians responsible in Gaza Strip for the Hamas attack? Why are they being punished? Who is going to stop this war? So friends, these are some of the very, very complex and critical questions that United Nations is facing. That means we all are facing today. So my appeal to all of you is that United Nations is a very relevant body. We need to strengthen it, right? In the days to come, we are going to face many more crises. Why climate change? Why COVID-19? Maybe there will be COVID-20, right? We'll be facing a lot of wars and, civilian crises, right? Natural disasters. So we need this global body, keep in mind. The body that was founded on 24th October 1945 is always going to be relevant, and all the young people must make it more and more relevant and more effective. Thank you so much guys for watching my videos. I make my videos very simple and precise. Kindly put forward your suggestions, right? While in the comment box you can do that, and kindly subscribe, like and share my videos. I'll be bringing lots of important issues, lots of critical issues like this for our discussion in the next videos to come. Thank you so much. Bye bye and take care.